Hi guys, today we're talking about tracking and analytics when it comes to a website. Now, those are extremely important in my opinion. And if you don't have those, you have a very little chance of actually succeeding. That's why today, in the second day of our real-time case study, I focused on making sure that the analytics and the tracking are set up correctly. Now, if you have those set up correctly, everything's going to go smoother. You're going to be able to make better decisions. You'll see what works and what doesn't. You're going to be able to find bottlenecks and optimize them. If you're interested in any of that, let's hop right into it. So why even bother with tracking, right? Well, here's why. You can judge ads performance. And being able to judge and compare stats between different campaigns give you the option to make better informed decisions. You know what's actually happening on your website or inside your ad platform, right? You know what the users are doing. You know the conversion rates. You know what ads bring the most conversions, what ads bring the cheapest conversions, and so on. Now, this is my favorite thing, finding and optimizing bottlenecks, all right? This is my favorite word, really, bottlenecks. It's all you should focus on if things are not working for you right now. Because there is one big problem that's probably holding you back. And without being able to analyze what you're doing, without tracking what you're doing, there's no chance for you to fix that problem, right? So you can't really manage what you don't measure. Moving on, leveraging machine learning. This is a very new thing, is a very sexy thing. It's what makes internet marketing so powerful right now in 2019. This is pretty much the reason why Facebook ads is so profitable for so many businesses. But the machine, in order to learn, needs some data first. And if you don't track stuff, the machine won't really help you out because they can't, right? They need your data. And to get data, you need to track what's happening on your website. Radio, TV, print, outdoor, all those different mediums, they would love to get the chance of being able to track and analyze what's happening with those campaigns, but they simply can't. So, man, wasting this opportunity of not tracking, not optimizing, not analyzing your campaigns is a real waste of opportunity that you're missing on right now. So, what tracking tools should you use? Well, I segment them by 3 types. There's, your usual ad platform pixel. In our case, it's going to be the Facebook pixel. But Google Ads and any other platform like LinkedIn ads, Reddit ads, they do have their own pixel. Now, its role is pretty simple. They bring data from the website through the platform's servers. General Analytics platform. Now, this is where I think a lot of you are missing out. You have Analytics, Google Analytics, you have Mixpanel, Kissmetrics, and a bunch of other options. And even though you might have it installed, you're not doing a lot with it right now. And hopefully by the end of those 2 weeks, I'm going to show you a couple of tricks to help you leverage your Google Analytics account in a meaningful way. And there's a third type of tools, calling them, the niche tracking tool. You have Hotjar, you have Bitly, Pixelme, and they do have different functions. For example, Hotjar is a hot map tool where you can see, how far someone scrolls on your website. If you're a beginner or if you don't have the first 2 categories here really nailed down, I wouldn't focus on those, on this third category, the niche tracking tools. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the Facebook pixel. Its role is pretty simple. It sends some events data to Facebook servers. There are 2 types of events: standard events, the usual add to cart, purchase, leads, and so on, and custom events. And the custom events can be whatever you need. For example, you can track when someone scrolls to 50% of your page's height. And implementing the pixel, now here's where I want to talk a little bit more because, everything else is pretty basic. Now, there's the easy way of implementing it using plugins, app extensions. It really depends on what platform do you use for your website. And there's the correct way, and that is through Google Tag Manager. All right. And I'm going to show you today. I had a lot of problems because the client had implemented in a very terrible way through those plugins. And we had a bunch of plugins that they were really competing against each other. And we had some terrible data in Google Analytics, for example, because we duplicated the event. So I would really prefer to use a clean Google Tag Manager implementation for your pixel than anything else, because if I don't know, something happens to this plugin, if it gets updated or not, your whole data is going to get messed up. And if you implement it through Google Tag Manager, you're going to have a lot more control over what you do and how it gets done. Another really important tool that I recommend using, and when I say using, I mean really using it, not just having it installed, is Google Analytics, because it helps you get in-depth data of what's happening on the website. And what I mean by that is what pages people browse, what paths do they take, how much time does it take for someone to go from a first-time clicker to a buyer, or any type of other conversions that you might want to track. And another very cool thing where when you drive traffic to your website through multiple sources is that it helps you track multi-channel attribution. And attribution is a big problem in marketing, right? You don't really know which channel really brought the conversion, right? Maybe someone clicks for the first time on a Google ad, and then they see a Facebook retargeting ad. So who should get the result, right? Who should really get the praise in this example? There are a lot of different thoughts here about attribution, but I'm just saying, without a general analytics tool where you can see the traffic from all the other sources, you won't be able to really judge how effective a given channel is. So, another really cool thing is you can segment visitors based on whatever you want. You can segment them based on campaign and basically see how each campaign has performed based on their behavior, right? You can see the conversion rate per campaign, and you can really compare Google campaigns against Facebook campaigns. You can see how a certain demographic performs on your website compared to another demographic. Segmentation is so powerful, because when you look at 100,000 people as just the one unit, everything is average, everything is aggregated. You don't have a lot of you don't really feel what's happening right there, right? And segmentation helps you get really in depth into their behavior, understand it, and then apply it on your ads to make them a lot better. Let's talk a little bit about a tracking audit, how to do it. I have to begin by saying it, you really got to keep it simple. You can't really focus on everything at the same time, and that goes exactly the same for when you implement the tracking. You really got to keep it simple. And what I usually do, I go through the buying funnel, right? I add to cart, I perform checkout, I do both credit card and PayPal if that's an option. And I'm very, very, very focused on seeing if everything is in place, right? If we have the values, if the right events fire. And for our case, this is the funnel that we've used. As you can see, we have a checkout page, and from this checkout page, when someone buys a virtual challenge, they're going to get an upsell page. And on this upsell page, we offer them a 25% discount on any other type of challenge on our website. And when they get to this page, already a purchase event should fire, right? Because they've already purchased through the first step of the funnel. And we had a lot of problems here, because if they buy on the upsell page as well, another purchase is going to fire. So we had two purchases, but actually it was only one purchase split into two parts, right? And I mean, okay, the revenue is going to be the same when you're going to look at the stats, when you're going to look in your Facebook ads interface, but there's not a lot of clarity around how many purchases there are, right? Because for someone that buys the upsell, you're going to see two purchases. So what I came up with is two custom events. One is called pre-upsell purchase and the other one is called upsell purchase. So we're just going to know that, the total number of purchases is going to be equal to the total number of people that have basically fired this pre-upsell purchase custom event. And I'm going to do the same thing in Google Analytics. We're going to basically have an add to cart. We're going to have a purchase, and we're going to also have a upsell purchase here as well. I haven't added the custom event, but we're going to use some custom events for Google Analytics as well. So let me show you basically how the funnel looks. I'm going to go through it step by step, perform a purchase, and you're going to know why we had this difficulty with the duplicated purchases. All right, so here's a landing page, and I'll show you the whole funnel. This is the Alps to Ocean challenge. Let's click sign me up. This is going to take you to this pricing segment. And let's say we decide to buy the entry plus medal option. And this is going to bring us to a checkout page. All right. And we can use this option, test gateway by WooFunnels, and this is just going to get me through the funnel without actually having to pay. This is only available to website admins, obviously. So when we click here, this means we've already paid either through credit card or PayPal, and we're just going to be redirected to this upsell page. All right, and as you can see, 25% discount on any other Conqueror challenge. And when we get to this page, we already purchased something, so we have this standard event set up, and I've already set up a custom event, this pre-upsell purchase. And then after this, if I click yes, add this to my order, that means we bought the upsell as well. So that's another purchase in its own. And here we're going to be redirected towards the final order page, the thank you page here. And again, this is another purchase. And as you can see, we had problems because for one purchasers, two purchases are declared here. There's not a lot of options to fix this, at least for Facebook. For Google Analytics, yeah, they're pretty smart enough, like you can aggregate different data, but Facebook is a little bit harder for us. And again, here I've used another custom event, and I will use those custom events to make sure that we really know how many purchases are we actually getting and how many upsell purchases we're getting, right? And the ROAS is, we're going to take the ROAS from the purchase. So not the ROAS was not, tracking ROAS was not a problem, but really tracking the amount of purchases, the amount of purchasers, sorry. All right, so that's pretty much the funnel, and that's what someone has to do to buy something. And I'm going to tell you right now, the conversion rate of that upsell page is around, I think 20%. 20% of the people that buy a challenge, they're going to buy an additional one with a 25% discount. So that's a pretty nice way of getting your average order value higher, just offering some type of upsell. And we might even do some conversion rate optimization work on that page. I think it's a prime example, because even getting it from 20% to 25% means a lot of additional money over a long period of time, especially if we're going to increase the volume of purchasers over the next following weeks. All right, so why should you use analytics? This is a pretty funny one to analyze data, obviously. Just tracking it is not enough. Unfortunately, that's what a lot of people do. They just install the Google Analytics account. Most of the times it's not enough. You gotta do some extra things there. But even so, just analyzing parts of it is really important. And getting the hang of it, like watching the same report every single week, even if at the beginning you're not gonna see a lot of things, after some time you're gonna start understanding the metrics, like what the value should be right there, right? At the beginning, when you track something, when you look at it, you don't have a point of reference, so it's going to be pretty difficult for you to know if it's good or bad, right? You don't know if the bounce rate is good or bad. You don't know if the time on page is good or bad. But with time, if you have, that backlog of data that you've previously previewed, you're going to know if you're getting in the right direction or the wrong direction. The second thing is high-level overview. Being able to look at 2, 3, 4 reports and knowing the overall health of the account is something very, very powerful, right? You don't need to spend like hours every week. If you know the reports that you want to preview, that you want to look after, you can create those custom reports and then every week just look at them and see how your performance is going. And the multi-channel attribution again is huge. Whenever you're running traffic from multiple sources, this is crucial for you to get, because you're going to get a lot of overlap in retargeting, and Google Ads is going to say something, Facebook Ads is going to say something. They usually overestimate how much they had, how much results they actually brought to the table. So I want to go back a little bit about this high-level overview. Obviously, you want to do that at a website high-level overview. I'm not meaning like Facebook Ads account overview. Website and your Facebook Ads account are two separate things. Here's an actual example: Facebook custom reports. You use those reports as a way to analyze what's happening. And I see a lot of advice here. What I would advise you to do is have different reports, smaller reports for each different utility, right? So we'd have a very short ROAS report. We're going to have a very short engagement report. We're going to have a very short, platform metrics report, CPM, CTR, CPC, you name it. And we're also going to have a very short funnel overview. What most of you are doing, when creating a custom Facebook report, you make you put all those in the same report, right? You try to put as much information as possible in the same place, but that's not going to help you, take a decision. Having too much on your plate is actually going to make you overthink and just waste a lot of time looking at the wrong metrics. You need to develop a second nature feeling of what I should be looking at, all right? And creating those 4 different reports will help you with that. Let's take a look at how they actually look inside the Facebook Ads Manager. All right, so let me show you how those custom reports look. There's no rocket science about them. They're pretty simple, but like I told you, I observed over the time that breaking down those reports into smaller pieces, very concentrated pieces. For example, this one is about ROAS, pretty simple. Pretty much what all businesses care about: how much was spent, how much was generated, the ROAS, and the number of purchases. Then we might have engagement ones, where you look at, video views, comments, likes, shares. Now this one, I would recommend to customize it a little bit more based on the type of content, right? So if you have videos, add more videos. Metrics here. Platform, I like to keep them again very, very tightly kept together here. So CPM, CTR, CPC. Now those I don't really like to look at those most of the times. Look at this CPM here; it's insane, 670. Because they're pretty misleading. What you care about is the cost per result at the end of the day. So even you have a low CTR or a very high CPC, if it converts at the end of the day, you don't really care about those. So that's why I even kind of remove them out of my main reports. I only look at them if I kind of want to diagnose, what's like if something's happening. So that's why it's like I need to make an intentional decision to go ahead and take a look at them. And a funnel here you can, find if you have some bottlenecks problems. Look at this one: 175 landing page views, 9 ad cards, 0. And let me show you how bad tracking looks like. There are plenty of examples here. Plenty of examples here where, no add to cart was used. Probably the plugin was broken. Or I even saw, again here, we have less add to carts than purchases. So unfortunately, because the tracking was bad for so long, it's pretty hard for me to make this data as meaningful as it could have been, right? But I still can look at platforms. We can still look at purchases. I mean, at least we hope that the purchases were what they should be, and we look basically at ROAS most of the time when I'm doing the account audit, as I showed you yesterday. So that's pretty much the big categories. You have your platform metrics, you have your funnel. Is pretty neat to look at. Maybe you're comparing two ads and you see, man, a lot of people, they add to cart but they don't really purchase. So even though you don't have the exact conversion rate from each step to another, even looking at it like that, you can spot some bottlenecks. Maybe this campaign, they do add to cart, but for some reason they still have some objections and they don't really buy, right? So seeing it like that in your custom reports is definitely something that you should do. But again, key takeaway here: try to break your custom reports into smaller pieces. I think this is going to be very helpful to you, because it definitely was for me. All right, guys, let's go back to Google Analytics and let's talk a little bit about what reports should you really be focusing on if you don't have a lot of experience with it. Now, the number one thing I would recommend is channels. Just looking at the channels is really important to get an idea of how much traffic comes from which channel and what the average conversion rate per channel is, and that tells you a lot about the store, right? I think this is the number one report that you should look at. And even looking at it on a weekly basis, you can see, man, we brought a lot of Facebook traffic and Google traffic is lacking, or we have a lot of organic traffic that we can retarget right now. It really gives you a lot of insights. Now, the second thing would be campaigns, right? Just even comparing Facebook ads campaigns with Google ads campaigns is a very important thing. To do that, you need to set up UTM's params in a meaningful way, right? I think we'll cover that next week. Right now, it's not as important as just getting those campaigns ready and rolling. But the campaigns, again, they're gonna be able to show you the average conversion rate for each campaign, which is a very interesting thing. And you can do a lot of segmentations there. You can look at the average conversion rate for age group, or I don't know, for someone that came to the website 3 times or 4 times, and see all those different stats. And again, this is so important. The attribution, you can basically see using different attribution models. So not only whoever clicked on the last ad, you can make it so it takes in account all the steps that they took before someone converted, right? So if you have, I don't know, someone clicking on a Google ad, Google search ad, and then they click on a retargeting Facebook ads, and you have a linear approach where you say every single click should be weighted the same towards attributing a given success to it, then 0.5% of that conversion will be attributed to Google, 0.5% will be attributed towards Facebook. And I really think that attribution, any type of attribution model that you use, shouldn't really be first click or last click. It should be something where it takes into account at least more than one click. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to show you those 3 reports, and we're going to discuss more on what they bring to the table. All right, so we are here in our Google Analytics account. Let me show you first the channels report. You go here to acquisition, all traffic, and click on channels. And this is going to take you to this report. Let's take a look on June 2019. All right, so as you can see here, we find different channels that brought traffic, right? We see paid search, social, direct, organic search, and referral. And the very cool thing about it is not on the left side, not in the center, but on the right side. Because if you have Enhanced E-commerce set up correctly, you can see revenue numbers in here. All right. You can find the conversion rate. So it's a pretty funny thing. You can see paid search, Google Ad search is the worst performer here by far, 3.18 conversion rate compared to organic search, which is 11%, right? That's like 3 times better the organic search than paid search. Facebook is not doing that badly, considering it's a paid traffic source, 5.93, and it also brought 2.6 thousand New Zealand dollars to the bank. So again, this is very important. You can find here the share. This is a very balanced website, right? And that's why we need to look into Google Analytics. Facebook is actually not the biggest traffic source, or at least for June it wasn't. We're probably going to make it be so in July after we start our campaigns. But even so, we have to take into account what's happening here with paid search, with direct traffic, organic search, and even referral. Referral is super strong, 17% conversion rate. And if you're wondering where that comes from, it actually comes from a website that is a sister of our website. It's called My Virtual Mission, is the apps website, right? So it's pretty much a auxiliary website for what we do. Now let's follow with the second report that I told you about. This one is the campaigns report. And here you can find pretty much the same thing, is just they are on a campaign based. So those campaigns could either be Google, Facebook, Reddit, Quora, whatever type of ad you make, and you do those campaigns by implementing UTM params, okay? And as you can see, no one even bothered to implement UTM params for Facebook ads campaigns. And we're going to actually do it because we want to see this data in here, right? We want to see the e-commerce conversion rate of each of our different Facebook ad campaigns. That's extremely helpful. We can see other stats as well here, like, you know, how many users were new compared to old users, and even the bounce rate. It might not be really relevant to see a bounce rate when you're sending something to a landing page. So the third thing here is attribution. Now this is extremely cool because, like I told you, you can use different attribution models, and by default, if we go here, you'll see the last interaction. Now this is basically what everyone is using, Google, Facebook, because they always want to attribute the whole result to them, you know, to whoever clicked the last. So Google is not going to consider Facebook traffic, and Facebook is not going to consider Google's traffic. But you can do that right here, because you can basically change however the attribution model is calculated. So you see here, last interaction, direct is 393 and social network is 116. If we change it to a first interaction basis, we see that it almost lost 100 conversions direct, and even social networks, they gain a little bit. Organic search gain a lot, right? Because people, we see they go to the website on a first basis, and then they return probably either through direct or through a paid retargeting ad. So playing with this is really cool. And as I said earlier, you should really go for something like linear, time decay, because those type of attribution model, they don't only consider one click, they consider many more touch points, right? And it is much more balanced, and it's going to give you a little bit, a lot of better idea of what's actually happening across all your marketing efforts. All right, that was it for the Google Analytics reports. Now, there are a lot of more reports here in Google Analytics, but those three are something that should, get you something out of the gate if you take a look at them, especially on an existing account. And on a new account, it might not be really, nice because you don't even have that much data. But right now we have like 2-3 years of data that we can, look back to. And this is super cool. And it's going to help us a lot in discovering what's working and what's not working, and how can we, play with each traffic source, even if we don't really drive that particular traffic source ourselves. All right, so that was it for today. I looked at a lot of different settings in tracking. I fixed a pretty nasty bug in Google Analytics, but that's pretty boring type of content. We basically spent 3 hours going through the funnel, looking at every single metric. And I'm actually considering doing something new tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be much more exciting because we start getting into media buying, and I know that's what you guys love. We're going to talk about prospecting strategies, how you should really structure your ad accounts, how many ad sets should you use, how should you spend your budget between all those different ad sets, stuff that's a lot more exciting than, just browsing through their website, looking at Pixel Helper and seeing if you miss something out. All right, that was it for today. See you tomorrow right here at the same hour.